Okay, I'm going to get started by welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is our group learning program where each Sunday I help students to be able to understand the path to enlightenment by going chapter in this book titled Developing a Life Practice, the Path That Leads to Enlightenment. This Sunday we're in chapter 17, which is titled Eliminating Fear. Are You Really Scared? So what we're going to be doing is helping you to be able to do a meditation session. I'll guide you in a meditation session. Then afterwards, I'm going to share with you how to eliminate your fear. Because by the time you get to enlightenment, there's no fear in the mind, whether it's the fear of heights or fear of spider or snakes or fear of your own death. All of that is eliminated from the mind. You don't need to continue to walk around with fear in your mind. There's actually a way for you to eliminate it. So I'm going to teach you how to do that after our meditation. So if you'd like to join for meditation, the way that we start is with some chanting to ease the mind into meditation. And if you'd like to chant along, we have laminated sheets over there on the cabinet. You're welcome to help yourself to a laminated sheet, and you'll be able to chant along during the chanting, because this helps to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. If you understand the origins of chanting, you'll understand that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer or anything like that. During the lifetime of the Buddha, he used chanting as a way to help his students commit the teachings to memory, where every 2 weeks his students came together in order to recite his teachings orally. This is how the chanting actually started, with the tradition of the teachings of the Buddha. It was just a learning tool or learning device. So when we're chanting this isn't a rite or ritual or a ceremony or worship or prayer or anything like that. It's just to help us ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself, because we don't need to chant the teachings any longer in order to remember them. We have books, audiobooks, videos, podcasts, things like this to be able to help us commit the teachings to memory. If you read the English translations, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of this, I don't even think the Buddha made these chants himself. He probably didn't create them, because that would be ego or arrogance to go around and say, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, and frustration and all these other discontent feelings to the peace and joy that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything from you or expect anything from you, you might actually have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for that person as well. So that's why I think that these actually came from the Buddha's students, either during his life or after his death, because they would have had a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for him. So you're welcome to chant these, and you'll see that it actually helps you to get more benefit out of the meditation as you ease the mind into meditation. Once we're in the meditation, I'm going to provide you some guidance while we're actually meditating, so that you can actually learn how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a period of time where it's just quiet and we're all meditating here at the temple, and anybody joining us online, we'll just all be meditating at the same time. Now, during this time of quietness, I'm sure you hear an occasional sound. You might hear a car going by, a dog barking, a bird chirping. This is all normal. If you're in meditation craving permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you'll cause your mind to be frustrated or annoyed or something of this nature. The mind itself is causing these discontent feelings. It's not the outside world that causes you to be angry or sad or frustrated or annoyed or any of these other feelings. So if you're in meditation, understanding the universal truth of impermanence, that things are constantly changing, then when you hear a sound during meditation, it's completely normal and you can reside with peace and joy. But if you have a craving for permanent silence during your meditation, when you hear a sound, you will cause your mind to be frustrated or annoyed. You live in an impermanent world where things are constantly changing. So when you hear sounds during meditation, you can just rest at ease knowing that this is the way that the world works. Then after that period of time of quietness, we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And then that's where I'll start today's class, helping you to understand how to eliminate fear. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these 4 positions at different times in your journey to enlightenment, because it's like having a tool belt to be able to employ whatever tool you need at any given time. But usually students are learning in the seated position, and then they learn these other positions as they take various courses and retreats. So I'll give you guys a little bit of guidance on the seated position to help you get comfortable in your meditation. You could be sitting on the floor or in a chair. Maybe if you're at home, you're on a bench or a sofa or in a wheelchair. You can sit really however you're comfortable. If you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This is going to kind of soften your seat a bit and make it more comfortable for you to sit. If you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might decide to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, it can impede the circulation and can cause pain in the lower body. So you'd like your legs to just be lightly crossed. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, again, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here. You could put your palms on your thighs or your knees. Some people put their palms up. Some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you could put your hands and arms wherever you like. And the same thing for anybody who's in a chair, on a bench, or a sofa, or in a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting in a chair here with my legs crossed, so you could do that as well. And then you could put your hands and arms wherever you like. You like your upper body to be erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back. This is going to keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, because this is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you would like the mind to be attentive and alert while you're training it. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect, which keeps the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, but it also makes it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So I'm going to do some chanting to ease into the meditation. You guys are welcome to join in, and then I'm going to come back in with the guidance to help you. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanang Apivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusarang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes And start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled. Just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath. Either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะกะวาโอตังมะกะวันหังอะปิวาเตมิ สวากขาโตมะเกวัตตาตัมโมดามังนามาสามิสุปฏิปันโนมะเกวัตโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะกะวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังปุตโตภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see all of you guys here. Welcome to everyone joining online as well. What I'm going to be sharing with you is how to eliminate your fear. About 2,500 years ago, an individual named Siddhartha Gautama lived, and he taught how to get to this enlightened mental state where you can experience the peace, the calmness, the serenity, and the contentedness with joy. This is the enlightened mental state. This is accomplished through training of the mind. The Buddha figured out how to get to this enlightened mental state on his own. Then he dedicated the rest of his life to sharing those independently discovered teachings with countless people. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you'll be able to see that your mind no longer experiences any discontent feelings. You'll notice that your anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy, all these feelings and others are eliminated from the mind through training of the mind. This isn't something that happens instantaneously, and it's not just meditation that you would need in order to be able to get to this enlightened mental state. There's more than just meditation that you would need to know. So what you're doing on this path is you're learning, you're examining and investigating the teachings of the Buddha, understanding them intellectually. Then you're moving into reflection to independently verify whether they're true or they're false. And then you're practicing his teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life in order to be able to train your mind. And what you're doing is you're uprooting certain pollutions in the mind that the Buddha discovered. And then he figured out the tools and techniques of how to eliminate those. And as you do that, you'll see that the mind's moving closer and closer to this enlightened mental state. And not only will you eliminate all these discontent feelings, but the mind will have focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. You'll notice that your personal, professional relationships are really blossoming. They're at ease, that you're no longer being bitter and harsh and hostile in your relationships any longer. So they're really blossoming, and you'll find that you have harmony in all your relationships. You'll notice that you're not even in a bad mood anymore. That is physically impossible for an enlightened being to experience a bad mood. So this is, again, accomplished through training of the mind. And one of the things that an individual needs to eliminate is they need to eliminate their fear. And there are certain tools and techniques to be able to help you eliminate your fear, whether it's a fear of heights, fear of spiders or snakes, or whether it's a fear of death or any of these other types of fears. This can all be eliminated from the mind. It's no fun walking around with fear in your mind. So understanding what's causing this fear and then how to eliminate it is what will help to liberate your mind. It'll help to free your mind. There's other things that you need in order to be able to free your mind and be able to get to this enlightened mental state, but learning how to eliminate your fears is part of this. So by the time you get to enlightenment, you won't have any fear. Your mind will be completely peaceful and joyful. There's no fear whatsoever. So in order to be able to understand how to eliminate your fear, you need to first understand what's causing it. And there's a teaching that the Buddha shares to be able to help you understand this. It's the very first teaching. It's called the Four Noble Truths. And this is a teaching that every beginning student on the path to enlightenment would need to be able to deeply understand and deeply penetrate in order to be able to make any kind of progress whatsoever on the path to enlightenment. If you didn't understand the Four Noble Truths, you wouldn't be able to understand even the first thing that the Buddha has to say about his teachings to lead to this enlightened mental state. In four simple statements, the Buddha explains the problem in the mind, the cause of the problem, the elimination of the problem, and the complete solution of how to fix this. And his teachings are independently verifiable. There's no belief in his teachings. So you learn and investigate and examine these teachings. You then reflect on them to verify if they're true or false, and then you practice and be able to see the truth for yourself. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you an abbreviated version of understanding what the Buddha taught of the Four Noble Truths, because right now we're in chapter 17 of this program, and I've already taught this multiple times in this program, and I know many of you guys weren't necessarily here when I taught the Four Noble Truths in the past. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do kind of a little bit of a refresher so that the students who have been here before, that they can just kind of get a refresh on the Four Noble Truths. But if you haven't been here before, it's okay, because you're going to get an abbreviated version of this to be able to at least understand this to a certain level of detail. And then what we're going to do is spend most of our time just exploring how to eliminate your fear. But in order to understand how to eliminate your fear, you need to first understand what's causing it. And that's what the Four Noble Truths are going to help you to be able to understand. I'm going to be pausing it a few times as we go to be able to open up for questions. Anything you guys would like to ask about clarification in what I'm sharing with you about the teachings of the Buddha. If you're here at the temple and you have a question, we have microphones in the white bowl to be able to help you to be able to ask a question. All you need to do is get a microphone, take it back to your seat, press the gray button. You're going to see the lights come on. You can hold that up to your chin and ask your question, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online, so it's helpful if you use a microphone. And then you can keep these microphones with you, because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share it with them. And then if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so that we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then anybody who's online, if you guys would like to ask questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comments section. Or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions you like that way. So I'm going to help you guys to understand the Four Noble Truths. But first, I'm going to give you this abbreviated understanding of something called the Three Universal Truths, because these are building blocks to help you to understand the Four Noble Truths. By understanding the Four Noble Truths, you can have a breakthrough to finally understanding what's causing your discontent feelings. Because what people typically think is they think that their anger and sadness and frustration and all these other discontent feelings are caused by something external. But what you're going to learn through the teachings of the Buddha in a way that you can independently verify is that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. And that's the reason why you can actually eliminate them, because it's your own mind that's actually causing them. But in order to understand the Four Noble Truths and have this breakthrough, you need to first understand the Three Universal Truths. Now, we refer to these as truths because the Buddha knew that they were true. I know that they're true, and other people know that they're true. But in order for you to gain the benefit of this and be able to awaken and cultivate this wisdom and be able to really benefit, you're going to need to be able to see the truth. So that's why you don't believe the teaching teachings. The Buddha is not explaining to you the way the world should be. There's not a bunch of beliefs that he's explaining and then something great will happen for you when you die. Instead, he's helping you to understand the way the world is. And by understanding the way the world is, now you cultivate wisdom about that world, and now you can navigate the world more peacefully. Because when you're struggling and having difficulties in the world, this is because the mind lacks wisdom about the world itself. You're living in a world that you don't understand. It's kind of like if we can think back to when we had struggles and difficulties with the natural law of gravity. It's because we didn't understand this natural law and we made unwise decisions, and it produced unwholesome results for us. But slowly but surely we gained wisdom of that natural law, and now we can navigate the world peacefully. We can climb ladders, we can ride bicycles, we can fly all over the world because we make wise decisions about this natural law. We no longer struggle with it. But there's other natural laws that the Buddha explained that are affecting you, whether you're aware of it or not. And if you don't understand these natural laws, the mind's going to experience anger and sadness and frustration and all these other feelings because the mind is in the world that it doesn't truly understand. The mind has these pollutions. So part of getting to enlightenment is to cultivate wisdom. You need to be able to see the truth for yourself so you can navigate the world more peacefully. So this first universal truth is helping you to understand that the world is impermanent, that things are constantly changing, that there's things that arise, change, and they fade away. These are called conditioned objects. Anything you see, hear, smell, taste, anything that comes in contact with the body, or any thoughts or ideas that go through the mind are constantly changing. That there's not this permanent fixed state, that things are temporary, they're constantly changing. This is called impermanence. This is a key understanding that you need in order to be able to understand the Four Noble Truths, because the mind in the unenlightened state is going to be craving permanence, wanting things to be permanent, when in reality the world around you is constantly changing. It is impermanent. So you need to be able to see this for yourself by looking at your own life and trying to determine whether this is true or false. And I encourage students to look at things that they're familiar with, like this physical body. You can ask yourself, is it permanent or impermanent? Because if the body's permanent, that means it's the same, and it's been the same your entire life. If this body is impermanent, then that means it's been constantly changing. So you can ask yourself this question: is this body permanent or impermanent? Because what I'm sharing with you here is that everything around you, all this material world, is impermanent and it's constantly changing. But you can't believe what it is that I share. You need to be able to see the truth for yourself. So ask yourself, is this body permanent or impermanent? Then when you answer that question, move on, ask yourself about your relationships. Are your relationships permanent, meaning you've had exactly the same people in your life, your entire life? Or are your relationships impermanent, meaning they're constantly changing? Then ask yourself about your bank account. Is your bank account permanent or impermanent? Does it stay the same all the time, or is it constantly changing? What about the weather? Is that permanent or impermanent? So we could go on and on and on here, helping you to be able to see this, but you need to be able to see it for yourself. And as I mentioned, I'm giving you an abbreviated version of these teachings, so you're going to need to do the work to be able to see that the world around you is constantly changing, because this is an important understanding to be able to get to the understanding of the Four Noble Truths. Then the Buddha explains to you discontentedness. This is the second universal truth, helping you to understand the unenlightened mind, that the unenlightened mind experiences conditioned feelings, that based on some condition, the unenlightened mind will experience pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant. The pleasant feelings are things like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria. It's very pleasant to experience those feelings, and it's based on some condition. Then there's painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety. This is all very painful for the mind to experience, and that's also based on some condition. Then there's neither painful nor pleasant feelings. I put boredom and loneliness here, but some people say that's very painful for them, so you could put that in the painful category. But shyness is a good example. It's not painful, it's not pleasant, it's neither painful nor pleasant. Or if somebody you didn't know came and sat really close to you on public transportation and your body was touching their body, you might say it's not painful, it's not pleasant, it's maybe uncomfortable, the mind is dissatisfied. This is the neither painful nor pleasant feelings. And again, these are based on a condition, that based on some condition, the mind is going to experience these feelings. So if you wake up in the morning and you see it's sunny outside and you get really excited and happy because it's sunny, That's a conditioned feeling. That based on the condition that it's sunny outside, you are now going to experience this pleasure. But that is a temporary feeling because it's based on some condition. The sun is not permanent. So therefore, when it's sunny, you'll be happy. But when it's raining, you'll be sad or frustrated, irritated, or annoyed. So your happiness is not permanent because you're experiencing conditioned feelings. That based on some condition, you're going to experience a feeling. So essentially what the unenlightened mind is doing is it's going up and down and up and down and up and down. It's experiencing these conditioned feelings because it keeps forming its feelings on something external. And this is because of the mind's lack of training that it does this. That if it's sunny outside, the mind is happy. But if it's raining or some other weather event, maybe it's frustrated or agitated or annoyed. Or if your bank account balance is up here, you might be happy or excited about that. But because that's not permanent, your happiness is not permanent either. So when your bank account balance goes down here, the mind is sad or frustrated or annoyed. So you can see that it's not other people that are causing these feelings. It's your own mind because the mind is forming its feelings on this thing, right? This craving, desire, attachment, which you guys are going to see in the Four Noble Truths. The mind is forming its feeling based on the bank account being here. And then when it goes down here, it's forming a different feeling. All that's happened here is change. That's all that's happened. The same thing with moving from the sun to rain. All that's happened is change. It's not the outside world. It's not other people that are causing these feelings. It's the mind itself. And you'll see this more clearly when we get to the Four Noble Truths. The universal truth of non-self is actually a solution to be able to help you see how to solve one of the problems the Buddha discovered in the mind. There's these 10 pollutions that the Buddha discovered in the mind. It's called the 10 fetters. They're referred to as fetters because during the lifetime of the Buddha, if you were a prisoner or a criminal and they were trying to keep you trapped in a certain area and confined to a certain area, they would attach a fetter around your ankle. This was a shackle and a chain and a ball. So when the Buddha discovers these 10 pollutions in the mind, he calls them fetters because it keeps the mind trapped in the unenlightened state, continuing to experience the struggles and difficulties of anger and sadness and frustration. The universal truth of non-self is the solution to this, helping you to be able to see that this body is not you, this mind is not you, but the mind will cling to a certain self-image or a certain self-identity thinking that this is who you are. So the mind will cling to this body wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way. And if you're being perceived that way, you'll be happy. But if you're not being perceived that way, you'll be sad or frustrated or agitated or annoyed. This is why when you've been out in the public and you've spilled something on your clothing, you experience embarrassment. It's because of your personal existence view. The mind thinks that this body is you, and it can only feel comfortable when you're being perceived the way you want to be perceived. When you have this food smeared across your clothing, the mind's not being perceived the way you want to be perceived, so the mind is frustrated or agitated or annoyed or embarrassed or some other feeling. Or if you've ever stood in front of your closet and you thought about who am I going to see today and how do I want to look, this is your personal existence view, where the mind thinks that this body is you, and it's clinging to this idea of wanting this to be permanent, and now you want to be perceived by others in a certain way. So if you see a wrinkle or a mole or a pimple, or you see a gray hair, or you start losing your hair, and you're shaken up by that, this is your personal existence view, wanting this body to be permanent when in reality it is impermanent. The mind is clinging to this body, wanting others to perceive you in a certain way. And it's not possible for that to occur permanently. Then there's the self-identity, where the mind can cling to things like your culture, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your nationality, your job or occupation, and clinging to this as who you think you are as a person. Maybe like I am American, or I am Chinese, or I am Venezuelan, or I am a Brit, or I am an Aussie, or any of this I am around your culture, ethnicity, sexual orientation, your nationality, your job or occupation, or any number of things that your mind can cling to. And if you cling to any of this as who you think you are, when you're being perceived the way you want to be perceived, or if you're in that particular role, you'll feel great. But when you're not, you'll feel like less of a person. So for example, if you've been in a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship where you identify with I am a boyfriend or I am a girlfriend, when you were in that relationship, you probably felt a certain level of comfort. But when you broke up and you were single, your mind may not have liked that. You might have felt like you wanted to hurry up and get right back into another relationship because this identity of I am a boyfriend or I am a girlfriend wasn't intact. Or maybe I am a husband or I am a wife. And now when you're not fulfilling that role anymore, your mind is uncomfortable. And it feels like the way to solve that is to hurry up and get right back into another relationship. When in reality, it's your mind having personal existence view, holding on to this identity of who you think you are as a person, and now the mind is uncomfortable. Or say you had a job or occupation and you identified with that as who you are as a person. When you're doing that job, you'll feel great, you'll feel wonderful. But when you're not doing it, you'll feel like less of a person. Like maybe you retire or you get fired or you get laid off or something like this. So the Buddha teaches you the universal truth of non-self to be able to help you see that this physical body is not you, and this identity that your mind is holding on to is not you. There is a body and there is a mind, and it's come together for this existence that we refer to as a person or as a human being. But in order to get to peace and joy that is permanent, you're going to need to not identify or cling to any of this as who you are. Because if you're at a restaurant and 2 tables over, they're saying, wow, all Americans are lovely and kind and warm and gentle. You'll be very excited about that if you consider yourself to be American. You'll get really pleasant feelings and so happy about that because they're talking about you, and that's what your mind thinks. But if there's a table, 2 tables over, that are talking in negative and degrading ways about the nationality that you have in your mind, you'll think that they're talking about you, and now you'll be frustrated and agitated or annoyed. So as long as you have this personal existence view in the mind, you can't be peaceful and joyful permanently. So the universal truth of non-self helped you to be able to see that none of these things are you. Now, typically, I walk students through this in a very slow, methodical way to be able to make sure you can independently verify it and you can see the truth for yourself. If you're having any difficulty seeing the truth, that your mind does indeed experience these conditioned feelings, or if you'd like to talk about this universal truth of non-self, or even the universal truth of impermanence, we can talk about that and I can help you to understand it more fully. But today what I did is I just gave you an abbreviated version of this so that we can move into some other things. Do you guys have any questions on the universal truth of, or I'm sorry, the 3 universal truths? Is there anything you would like to ask? Remember here, if you could use the microphones, and then online, if you could put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, that would be helpful. No questions here? Okay, so let me see if we have anything online here. Okay, I don't see any questions here. Okay, so this is a core understanding that you need, is to understand that the world around you is constantly changing, and that the mind in the unenlightened state is experiencing these conditioned feelings where it's going up and down and up and down. Now we're going to get into some other things. You need to be able to understand this word in these series of words: craving, desire, attachment, wants, expectations, holding, grasping, clinging. This is the way the mind longs and yearns for something. The mind is pulling in the direction of the objects of its affection, thinking that the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. So the mind chases it and chases it and chases it. It's almost like an unquenchable thirst. The mind might be in the mall and see a new pair of shoes and think, oh, a new pair of shoes. I want those. I want those. And the mind longs and yearns for it. And it gets so excited if you go into the store and they actually have the size of shoes that you're looking for. But if they don't have the shoes that you're looking for, you might get angry or frustrated or annoyed. This is the mind having craving, desire, attachment, longing, yearning, pulling after the objects of its affection. The mind thinks that something external is going to provide lasting satisfaction, so it chases and chases and chases after it. So you need to be able to see that your mind has been doing this, where maybe you were thinking, my life is incomplete. What do I need to feel whole? And you might have said, more money, that's what'll do it. Let me get some more money. Let me chase after that. That'll make my life feel better. And you might chase after that for a while, and you get what you want and you feel happy, but then eventually that happiness wears off. Or you might think, what do I need to feel better? Oh, a new boyfriend, a new girlfriend. That'll fix everything. Let me chase after that for a while. And the mind chases that. And then you get one, and then you're happy for a period of time, but then eventually you feel frustrated or agitated or annoyed. Or the mind's like, I know what I need, a nicer house, a nicer car. I need this or that, jewelry, clothes. The mind is always looking for something external to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. That's what the craving, desire, attachment is. And once you understand this, you can then understand the Four Noble Truths. This is where the Buddha explains the problem in your mind, the cause of the problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward, where you can have this breakthrough to understanding what's causing these feelings. Because you'll never be able to eliminate your fear or any other discontent feelings if you don't understand what's causing it. So the first noble truth is explaining the problem that the Buddha discovered is that each unenlightened mind is experiencing discontentedness, meaning conditioned feelings, that based on some condition, the mind is then going to experience a feeling. That the mind is happy and excited, but then it's sad and frustrated or agitated or annoyed. But then it's bored and lonely and disappointed and frustrated. And then it's experiencing stress and anxiety. The mind's going up and down and up and down. This is a problem for the mind because it's not stable. It's not steady. It's not able to be consistently steady and stable and unshakable. So therefore, when the mind is shaken up, you make unwise decisions, and then those unwise decisions produce unwholesome results for you. So this is the problem that each unenlightened being is experiencing, is that their mind is discontent, going up and down, forming conditioned feelings. Then the cause of that is explained in the second noble truth, that the discontent feelings is being caused by craving, desire, attachment, longing, yearning, chasing after the objects of your affection, wanting things to be permanent, when in reality, everything around you is impermanent. It's constantly changing. So let me give you some examples so you can see this truth for yourself. You need to be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, because then you understand how to eliminate your fear, right? What's causing these feelings is the craving, desire, attachment, the craving for permanence. So if you could think back to maybe that relationship that you had with a boyfriend or girlfriend, or maybe a husband or wife, when you guys were first together, you maybe got really excited. Maybe you're really happy with that. Maybe you guys were calling each other, checking in on each other, seeing how you're doing. Maybe you're going to the movies, to dinner. Maybe you're going to the park, having great conversations. Maybe you're having intimate contact like sex, and maybe you're feeling really great about that. And at the beginning of the relationship, it was all going really well for you. But then over time, the relationship deteriorated more and more and more, and you guys broke up. And then you might have been really angry or frustrated or sad, or you might have been lonely or bored, or you might have been missing this person. What was causing these feelings is that the mind was craving permanence, wanting this person to be in your life permanently, when in reality, they are impermanent. This relationship was always impermanent from the very beginning. It wasn't your love or your care that was causing these painful feelings. Love is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. This doesn't cause painful feelings. What was causing the painful feelings is the mind was holding on and craving for this relationship to be permanent. And even if you guys were together for the rest of your lives, one of you would have most likely died before the other. This relationship was impermanent all the way from the very beginning. But the mind didn't understand the universal truth of impermanence, so therefore it was craving and holding on and wanting things to be permanent. You can see this if you've had someone close to you that has died, that maybe when they're alive, you have a certain amount of comfort and happiness with that. But then when they die, your mind really struggles with that because you're experiencing this impermanence, that because they were born, they had to die. But the mind doesn't understand that impermanence, and it doesn't like impermanence. So one of the ways to say this is, yes, that the mind craves permanence when the world is impermanent. But another way to say it is that the mind doesn't like impermanence. It doesn't like change. If you look at your life, whenever things have been changing the most, whether it's your career, where you're living, your friends and relationships, those were the most challenging times for you in your day-to-day life, because the mind doesn't like change in the unenlightened state, because it craves permanence. You can see this in many parts of your life. If you look at your own life and you look at examples from your own life, you'll be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. I'll give you another example, and then I'll invite you to look at this for yourself. Let's just say you bought a brand new car, and you were so excited about this brand new car, and you drove it off the parking lot, and you parked it at a store, and you went inside the store, and you came out, and you saw a scratch on your car. you'd probably be frustrated or angry or annoyed. If you had a craving, desire, attachment in your mind for this car to be permanent, you would be angry or frustrated or annoyed in this situation because the mind's craving this car to be permanent when in reality it is impermanent. Now, some people would think that it's the scratch that's causing you to be angry, or it's the person who scratched the car. They caused you to be angry. No, they didn't cause you to be angry. It was the mind craving permanence, wanting this car to look permanently beautiful. Now, when we walk through a parking lot, we aspire to not scratch people's car. That's why we're careful when we walk through a parking lot. But the fact is that this car is going to get a scratch. The paint's going to fade. The tires are going to need to be changed. The upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. It's only a matter of time before this car starts to deteriorate because it is impermanent. But as long as your mind craves permanence, when you're experiencing that deterioration of the car, you will be frustrated or agitated or annoyed because the mind's craving for this car to be permanent. So you can see that it's not the outside world that's causing these feelings. It's your own inner world. It's your own cravings, desires, attachments, craving for things to be permanent. But be sure you look at this for yourself and you see the truth for yourself. You need to look at a recent experience where you've been angry or frustrated or agitated or annoyed. Could have been this morning or yesterday or last week. Look at that situation. What was it that your mind was yearning and longing for? What was it craving? What was it wanting to be permanent? You should be able to see this for yourself. If you showed up to the airport really excited to go to Thailand, and your flight was delayed and you were frustrated or agitated or annoyed, it wasn't the airline company that was causing that. It was your own mind because your mind was craving permanence. I want every single flight to take off on time. Right? This is the mind craving permanence. It's not possible for every flight to take off on time. There's going to be a maintenance issue, a crew issue. There's going to be a weather issue. It's going to happen. If you travel enough, you'll be delayed and you'll even have flights canceled from time to time because that's impermanence. The world's constantly changing. But the thing is that the mind craves permanence, wanting things to be permanent when you live in an impermanent world. So you need to be able to see this for yourself through your own experience so you know that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, because then you can work to eliminate them. And that's what the Buddha is explaining to you in the third noble truth and the fourth noble truth, that the elimination of discontentedness is possible by eliminating craving, desire, attachment. If you eliminate the cause of your discontent feelings, then you will eliminate the discontent feelings themselves. Because if you eliminate the cause, you'll eliminate the effect. So it's a third noble truth that helps you to be able to see that this is possible. And once again, you can actually independently verify this. Because think back to that boyfriend or girlfriend that you had when you guys first broke up. You might have been angry or frustrated or sad or lonely or bored. But at some point, you were like, you know what? If he wants to be with someone else, so be it. And your mind let go. And that's where you regained your peace and your joy. Or if she would like to move to another part of the world, so be it. And your mind let go. And that's when you regained your peace and your joy. So when you eliminate this craving, this holding on, this craving for permanence, and your mind lets go, that's when you actually experience peace and joy. But your mind doesn't know how to let go. It craves permanence. So that's where the fourth noble truth is coming in. This is actually the complete perfect plan that guides you in how to train your mind to let go. It's called the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is 8 individual steps that is guiding you and being able to help you understand how to train your mind and get to the point where you no longer are holding on, craving permanence, where you can navigate the world and do the things that you're doing in your day-to-day life, but you're not craving permanence. So therefore, your mind won't experience any discontent feelings. And this is accomplished through gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. But it starts with something called right view, which is what we're essentially talking about right now, which is the Four Noble Truths. Right view is to be able to understand the right view, that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. Wrong view would be to blame other people for the feelings that you're experiencing. And that's what we tend to do in the unenlightened state. Because of our lack of wisdom, we will go around the world blaming other people for the feelings that we're experiencing. We will firmly believe that other people are causing us to experience these feelings. I'm sure you've been in arguments before where you've been adamantly trying to convince somebody to stop doing what they were doing, or else you're going to continue to get angry and frustrated. But you can't train 8 billion people to do things your way. Because of impermanence, different people are going to do things different ways. So this whole path to eliminating your discontent feelings, including eliminating fear, is to establish right view, is to be able to understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, and you can look inward and be able to see that truth and know it with 100% certainty. So I'm going to pause here and see if you guys have any questions about these Four Noble Truths and what I'm sharing, and then I'm going to teach you how to eliminate your fear. But you need to be able to see that it's craving, desire, attachment, this craving for permanence that's causing these fears, so that then we can talk about how to eliminate them. So do you guys have any questions on this? No questions here? Okay, let me see if we have any online. Okay, I don't see any questions online either. Okay, so now that you might be understanding a bit about these discontent feelings and what's causing them, that it's craving, desire, attachment, what I encourage you to do from this point forward is whenever you're discontent, look inward to try to figure out what is it that you're longing, yearning for. If you continue to blame other people for the feelings that you experience, you'll never solve your anger and sadness and frustration and all these other feelings, because that's not what's truly causing these feelings. What the mind does when it experiences these painful feelings is it will tend to push people away, or it will push the situation away. This is called aversion, where the mind firmly believes it's something in the outside world that's causing these feelings, so it'll try to push away. This is called aversion, where you're pushing the situation away or the person. And you can see that that doesn't work, because whenever you've pushed away somebody in your life, like a friend or family, you still get angry, you still get frustrated. If they were the true cause of your feelings, when you push them away, you would continue to be happy and peaceful and joyful for the rest of your life. Or if you push a situation away, you would be peaceful and joyful for the rest of your life. The other thing that the mind does when it firmly believes the problem is external and it doesn't understand these Four Noble Truths is it'll be bitter and harsh and hostile to people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. And you'll damage your relationships in these situations, because those people are going to be bitter and harsh and hostile right back to you. So you can see being bitter, harsh, and hostile to people doesn't solve your problem. It just makes your problem worse. Or you might put your expectations on people and try to control people and force them to do things your way. So as long as someone doesn't understand this second noble truth, that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, you'll keep continuing to be unskillful, where you'll push things away, you'll be bitter, harsh, and hostile, or you'll put your expectations on people. But there's this better way of life, and that's what the Eightfold Path is training your mind to experience this better way of life, where you can experience peace and joy as a permanent mental state, where your mind will always be peaceful and joyful. And part of that is eliminating your fear. So to eliminate your fear, you're going to need to eliminate the cravings, desires, attachments that is producing the fear. There's certain craving, desire, attachment. There's certain cravings that the mind has, certain permanence that it's wanting, and that's what's producing the fear. So you need to be able to see this. So for example, if I was afraid of spiders, I'm craving to never see a spider. Right? I think that this spider is somehow going to hurt me, hurt this body. So my craving for permanence is I don't ever want to see a spider. Or if I'm afraid of snakes, same thing. I don't ever want to see a snake. I'm craving this permanence where these eyes will never see a snake. Or if I'm afraid of heights, this body doesn't want to be up high. This mind doesn't want to be up high. So now the mind's craving to permanently be on a ground level. Or if you're afraid of death and you're fearing death, you're craving permanent life, where in reality, this life is not permanent. Or you might be craving permanent comfort of the body. Maybe you're fearful of the pain that you might experience as part of the dying process. So the mind is craving permanent comfort of the body or craving permanent life. This is what's causing the fear, is the craving for permanence. But yet you live in an impermanent world. You're going to see spiders. You're going to see a snake. You're going to be up high sometimes. You're going to experience uncomfortableness in this body, and you're not going to be able to experience permanent life. Every single one of us are going to die. Because we were born, we have to die. That's impermanence. That's the way that the world works. We cannot experience permanent life. So as long as the mind craves permanent life or craves permanent comfort of the body, you'll have this fear of death. Or you might fear what's coming next after this, perhaps. So there's a way to eliminate this. What you can do, rather than push away these experiences, because that's what the mind will tend to do with its fears, is it'll tend to try to push away this situation. So say I'm afraid of large crowds. I might think, I'm never going to go around a large crowd ever, right? And now you try to avoid large crowds. Well, that doesn't actually solve the root problem. The root cause is the craving to only be around a few people. So you haven't actually solved your problem. You're actually carrying around the craving, desire, attachment in your mind, which is polluting your mind and making it difficult for you in your day-to-day life, that you're carrying around this burden. You're almost looking out for this large crowd, right? Making sure that you're never in a large crowd. And this is one of the reasons why the mind lacks concentration and focus and clarity and deep memory, because it's polluted with all these cravings carrying around this burden. And that's why the mind doesn't experience the focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. So you can't push away these situations. You will see a spider from time to time, and you might see a snake from time to time. You might be in a large crowd from time to time. You might be up on a high level from time to time. And you absolutely will experience discomfort of the body, and you will experience death. So you can't avoid these situations. The way to actually solve the problem is get to the root cause, which is the craving, desire, attachment in the mind. And by exposing the mind to what it's fearing, you can actually desensitize the mind to what it is that it's craving. So for example, if I was afraid of spiders, the way to approach this is not to push away the spiders and never see the spiders, because you're going to see a spider. It's only a matter of time. And now when you see the spider, you're going to be upset. You're going to be fearful. Oh my gosh, it's a spider. Ah, right? You can't control that because you can't control other beings. You're going to see a spider, but you can train your mind to eliminate that craving to never see spiders. The way that you do this is you look at some pictures of spiders, like in a magazine or on the internet. You start looking at pictures of spiders. And when you notice the fear is coming up, you train your mind to cut it off and let it go. Cut it off and let it go. That's what that meditation is that we just did this morning, where it's training your mind to cut off and let go. Let go, let go, let go. So when these discontent feelings are arising, you can let them go. And now when you look at the pictures of spiders for a little while and you've desensitized your mind to that, maybe over multiple sessions, now you increment the stimulus. Maybe you go to a museum, a place where they've preserved spiders. They're not alive, but they still have those eyes and they still have those little hairs, right? And you kind of look at that and it's like, okay, now you're in that situation and you're starting to look at these spiders that have been preserved. And if you notice the fear coming up, you cut that off and let it go. You cut that off and let it go. And now after a few sessions of that, you increment the stimulus a bit more. Now maybe you go outside in the forest, or you go to a pet store, or you go look under a rock to look for some spiders. And now you see them crawling around and doing different things. And if you notice your fear arising, you cut that off and let it go. And you cut that off and let it go. And you train the mind, or another way to say this is you uncondition it. Because your mind's been conditioned to think that spiders are bad. And if I see a spider, something bad is going to happen to me. And my mind has been conditioned to think that way. That's the craving, desire, attachment, and that's what's producing the fear. But now you're replacing that with these experiences that you've interacted with a spider and it hasn't caused any harm. This is where you can see the natural law of karma, that you can understand that if you don't cause harm, harm won't come back to you. If you don't cause harm to that spider, there's no harm that's going to come to you. So you can look at pictures, you can look at these preserved spiders, you can look at spiders that are alive and desensitize the mind, understanding that you can have an experience where you can look at a spider and see a spider and you can walk away and be just fine with this. So you're exposing the mind to the thing that it's fearing so that you can desensitize it. You can train the mind to let go of this craving to never see spiders. And now, slowly but surely, your mind develops the peace and the calm. So when you see a spider, it's like, oh, there's a spider. I've seen those plenty of times, and the mind can remain calm and peaceful. So here's another spider. I can remain calm and peaceful when I see that spider too, right? And you can do the same thing with something like heights, because someone might try to avoid this situation. I'm never going to go up high. Well, it's going to happen. Someday you're going to step into an elevator. Somebody's going to press a button that you didn't see, and next thing you know, you're on the 32nd floor of some building, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, and now the mind's all shaken up by this. Well, the way that you do this is you gradually desensitize the mind. Maybe you go to a mall, you go up to the second or third floor and you look over the side and you desensitize the mind to that. And then maybe you go up a little bit higher and a little bit higher, and over multiple sessions, you desensitize the mind to being afraid of heights. And then maybe you start training your mind to go up a couple of rungs on a ladder and looking over, or a couple of higher, steps, and you go a little bit higher, and then you look over the side and you desensitize your mind to it. Just trying to avoid this situation doesn't actually solve it. Or say you were afraid of large crowds. You would like to go around large crowds. That's what's going to desensitize your mind, train your mind to let go of this craving for permanence, wanting to only be around a few people at a time. And now you can be completely comfortable, because someday you're going to be walking through a city and you're just going to be minding your own business, walking down the street, and you're going to turn a corner, and next thing you know, you're in this big, large crowd. Right? You're not going to be able to always avoid large crowds. And even if you could, you're still carrying around that pollution in the mind where you're craving this permanence, when in reality, the world around you is impermanent. I'll give you another example of how you can do this with something like death. And then I'm going to open up to whatever questions you guys have. If there's certain fears that you have and you're wondering how to desensitize the mind to it, I will help you. So you guys can ask these questions. So let's just say somebody was afraid of death. And as they think about death or they imagine death, they have all this fear that comes up and they just can't imagine dying. The way that you eliminate this fear is you need to confront it. You need to put the mind in the situation that it doesn't want to be in. Of course, you're not interested in killing yourself. That's not what I'm talking about here. But there's a technique that the Buddha taught. It's called contemplation of death, or a reflection of death, where you put your mind in the situation that it doesn't want to be in, where you can actually sit quietly for 10 or 15 minutes or so, close your eyes, and you can imagine within your own mind that you've actually died. And maybe you play this out in your mind. Maybe you've been in a terrible car accident, or maybe you've had a very slow, prolonged death, like something like cancer or something like this. Whatever it is, you can imagine that in your mind and play that out like you're a fly on the wall. Maybe you see that your family's been informed that you've died. Maybe they're crying and grieving. Maybe there's a funeral that you watch in your mind's eye. Maybe there's other things that are happening in a burial or a cremation or something like this. And you confront this in your own mind for about 10 or 15 minutes. You might grieve. You might be sad. You might be fearful when this is occurring. And as that's occurring, you train your mind to cut that off and let it go. Cut it off and let it go. And after you do this 2, 3, 4, 5 times, spread out maybe like month by month by month, eventually you'll get to the point where you've desensitized your mind to this, that you've accepted the fact that this being is going to die, that this being is not permanent. You are going to experience death at some point, and you've confronted it. Essentially what you're doing is, if you understand true reality, that every single one of us are going to die, death is waiting for you in the corner. It's waiting for you over there. And it's either going to sneak up on you and catch you by surprise, which in that case, you're going to feel very shocked and surprised. Your mind's going to be shaken up and maybe fear is arising. Or you can see that death is waiting for you over there in the corner, and it's going to come visit you someday. And you say, you know what? I'm not going to let death sneak up on me and catch me by surprise. I'm going to go visit death. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go make friends with death. That's what the contemplation of death is that you sit somewhere quietly with your eyes closed and you're going to visit death. and you're going to make friends with death to understand that, yes, death is normal. It's nothing you need to be scared of or fearful of, that it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. So let's go visit death and get comfortable with death and understand what death is all about. So that's what the contemplation of death is helping you to be able to do, is to go confront death and get comfortable with it. And now as you've done that over multiple sessions, when you actually get close to your death, you'll feel comfortable because you've already visited it, you've already explored it, and you're no longer shaken up by it. And now you can go through life not fearing death. So this is how you eliminate your fear, is you desensitize the mind to the thing that it's fearful of. And there's many number of different fears that an individual could have. So that's why I like to spend our time to just see what questions you guys might have. If you have certain fears that you need help with, let me know and I will help you with those. Remember, you have the microphones here. And for those of you guys online, you can put this into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Are there any questions here online you guys would like to ask about how to eliminate your fear? No questions? Okay, let me see if we have anything online. Okay, here we go. We have a question coming in. Let me just take this. This is from Raphael. Should we eliminate all fears or be selective to the ones that are detrimental to us? Example, fear of spiders might help us not to get poisoned, or fear of losing a job keep us producing better results. Okay, so let me help you, Raphael, is that there's no benefit to fear. This is the problem with the lack of wisdom in the mind. The mind will think that somehow fear is helping you, but fear isn't helping you. So let's use this example, the fear of spiders, that you think that this fear is going to help you in some way. Well, if you see a spider and your mind's all shaken up by like this, oh my goodness, a spider, and you start jumping around, maybe the spider does bite you, right? Or maybe you trip and fall, or maybe you break something. This fear is shaking up your mind. So now it's going to produce unwise decisions that produce unwholesome results. Or if you have fear every day you go to work that you're going to lose your job, that's not actually helping you to be productive. That fear is shaking up your mind. And now when you go talk to your boss, your mind's all shaken up and you can't communicate effectively to actually do a really good job. And now you might actually lose your job because this lack of confidence that you have in the mind. So the fear is not actually helping you. And this is part of the lack of wisdom that the mind has in the unenlightened state. In some cases, it thinks that somehow fear is actually helpful for you. So you would actually like to eliminate all your fears, where you can get to the point where you're making wise decisions based in wisdom. You don't need to make decisions based in fear, because that's just going to cause the mind to make unwise decisions, and it's going to produce unwholesome results. So whether it's a fear of spiders or a fear of losing your job or any other fears, it's just causing the mind to be unstable and shaken up. So you'd like to get to the point where you eliminate 100% of all your fears, because now when you see a spider, no big deal. It's a spider. I understand through the natural law of karma that this spider is not going to bite me and poison me, because I'm not causing any harm to this spider. The spider's just crawling around looking for food, looking for a place to rest. I don't need to do anything with this spider. I can pick it up and relocate it perhaps, or I can just let it be, and I'm not going to experience any unwholesome result because I'm not causing harm to that being. Same thing as if I go into the office with a calm and collected mind with confidence, I can perform and do well with wise decision making. Of course, I don't work in an office anymore. I don't have that type of job, but just giving you an example that you can go into your work with confidence, and now you can perform well, and that's what's going to help you to maintain this job. The fear isn't helping you to maintain the job. The fear actually is going to get in the way and actually potentially cause you to lose your job. So there's no such thing as a discontent feeling such as fear producing any kind of beneficial results whatsoever, because the mind is shaken up and it's going to lead to unwise decisions, which ultimately produces unwholesome results or unwholesome karma. Okay, let me see if we have any other questions. Let's see. All right. I don't see any other questions. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'm just going to end class by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn and grow and develop on the path to enlightenment. If you'd like to learn more, there's plenty of opportunities for you to do that. I suggest that you start with this Four Noble Truths. That's the very first teaching that's going to help you to be able to really have a breakthrough to understanding the path to enlightenment. And usually what I do is I really take my time to walk you through that very slowly so that you can understand it. So if you'd like to understand this, there's plenty of times where I teach it, whether it's in classes, courses, or retreats, whether it's in books or audiobooks, videos, podcasts. You can learn this at any different time that you'd like. And that's all available for you online at no cost. I suggest you start with this first book. You can get it for free by downloading it from our website. You can take it and go print it yourself if you like. You can get printed versions here by reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can order it on Amazon. And if you'd like to slowly learn and grow and develop on the path to enlightenment, you'll be able to see how the teachings of the Buddha lead exactly where he said they do, to this peaceful and joyful mental state. But you need to be able to cultivate the wisdom to be able to understand how to train your mind and experience that improvement in your day-to-day life. Some future events that we have coming up is tonight at 6:30. We have a meditation in the main hall. If you guys would like to stop by, we're going to be doing meditation together there, and I'll be opening up to any and all questions that students have. So that's going to be at 6:30 in the main hall. It's synced up with the Sunday night walking market. So maybe if you're coming for that or you'd like to come to that, there's an opportunity for you to do that. Then at 9 p.m. tonight, I'll be teaching here in the classroom. The same thing that I just taught now. We'll be doing meditation, and I'll be teaching tonight at 9 p.m. And then on Wednesday, I'll be teaching here in the classroom at 9 a.m., where I'll be doing meditation with students and then opening up for any and all questions that you might have. So whatever you choose to do today, have a very wonderful and lovely rest of your day. If you have something that you'd like to talk with me about, feel free to come let me know, and I'll be pleased to help you. Take care and be well. We'll see you next time. Sawadee-khap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.